Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm Grace Holland. Thursday and Friday have all the ingredients for a big traffic jam in Raleigh. The State Fair kicks off its 10-day run at noon Thursday, hours before Billie Eilish takes the stage for the first night of 2 shows at the Lenovo Center. It's a recipe that's led to hours of backups in that part of the city before. On Tuesday, people sat in their cars for hours waiting to get into Chris Brown's concert. WRAL's Shaun Gallegher is here to talk through what happened there and how officials are preparing to deal with the traffic heading into the weekend. Shaun, thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course, Grace.
So I have a little bit of firsthand experience with this because I was coming back from RDU on Tuesday around 5 o'clock. Of course, we were prepared for rush hour traffic, but what we were not prepared for is the concert traffic. And it really was something to see how many cars were backed up in the area of Edwards Mill Road and Blue Ridge Road. So why was it such an issue getting into that concert?
Yeah, well, Grace, I've been joking around. The Breezy Bowl was anything but breezy for people to get in. But, when you're talking about like a Lenovo concert, like people are expecting a little bit of a wait, but this was entirely different. But I mean, just look at the numbers. I mean, Lenovo holds about 20,000 people. And NC State for a football game shows a capacity of 56,000, but this is a concert, so they have a lot of general admission. And, that's just, like you said earlier, recipe for disaster. All of those people are, trying to get there at once. It's a weekday concert, so you got to factor in that there are people probably, they can't take off of work necessarily and get there even earlier. So that like rush hour was a super rush hour, a mega rush hour, if you will. And then getting out was just the same. You got, close to 60,000 people who are all trying to leave a venue that really isn't built for that number of people to exit at once.
And how did concert goers themselves deal with these backups? Were some of them in danger of missing the concert because of this?
Not just in danger. A lot of people did miss the concert.
Wow.
We talked to a number of people that, they paid hundreds of dollars for the tickets. They paid even more for parking in some instances. There's one person we talked to that paid $100 prepaid for parking. And when they got to the location finally at 9 or 10 o'clock, that parking spot wasn't available. They had overbooked. So all of these people were just in gridlock traffic so close that they could hear the concert. They could hear the music still from the stadium, but they couldn't just abandon their car right where it was and get out and go. They just had to sit there and wait it out. And some people just said, you know what, forget this. I'm turning around and going home. And then we also saw videos of people who maybe they were Ubering or they got a ride with somebody. They were on I-40 getting out, walking miles to just pass the traffic because that literally was faster. It was, glacial pace, if not slower, for the vehicles that were trying to get to Carter Finley Stadium.
It's just a mess to think about people being that desperate that they're, walking down the side of the interstate to get to this concert. And you mentioned that, at Carter Finley for Chris Brown, it was about 60,000 people that we're talking about there on Tuesday. How does that compare to the number of people that will be in and around the fairgrounds over the next 2 days starting on Thursday?
Yeah, so let's start with the State Fair. Historically, we've seen on Thursdays, they show around 40,000 people who arrive there. And then on Fridays, obviously a much bigger night. It's the kickoff of, the State Fair weekend, if you will. That's closer to something like 60,000, if not a little bit more, over the last 10 years. But that's not the only show in town tomorrow. Billie Eilish has a sold-out show on Thursday and Friday night at the Lenovo Center. So that's going to add probably around another 20,000 people. So compare that to what was at Carter Finley and, my simple math there, you're going to eclipse that by several thousand on Thursday night, and then it's going to be, tens of thousands more on Friday night. Now, a caveat here when I was talking to the State Fair folks, they don't have everyone arriving there at once. People kind of spread out there. Mm-hmm. So that number might be a little bit, less dramatic as you get later into the night, as you have kind of a transient population going in and out of the State Fair. But either way, it is an area not built for this number of people, which is really shocking when you consider that's what the venue's built for, right? It's built for a high number of people to come, enjoy themselves, and then leave. But the thing is, I mean, these experiences that people are having after the concerts, it's really ruining the good experience that they had for the few hours they were there.
Let's take a quick break right there. When we come back, we're going to talk more about those infrastructure pieces of all of this. So, Shaun, before the break, you were setting the scene of what we saw on Tuesday with this Chris Brown concert and the backups and headaches that created for people, and what we could potentially see Thursday and Friday night as well. So, what is the plan right now? There's a lot of players here. You mentioned, obviously, there's the State Fair, which would be also, maybe NCDOT has some involvement in this. Certainly the city of Raleigh has some involvement in this. Lenovo on their side with the concert for Billie Eilish. How are all these players coming into the next 2 days, and what is the plan?
Yeah, NC State involved as well because they have to deal with the parking around the Lenovo Center. So, I mean, that's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. But when talking to law enforcement, they're really there to, direct people. That's what, RPD does. State Highway Patrol is involved in the planning process, but, a big responsibility for this falls on the NC State and Lenovo Center folks who are in charge of a lot of parking spots around there, as well as the State Fair folks who have to plan this as well. But, as far as a quick solution for this, there's nothing right now. I mean, when we reached out to NC State about this, they just told us that, it's a complex operation and that they do a comprehensive review after all of these events to try and improve it for the next one after that. But the thing is, I mean, I don't know how many people listening to this were here last year, but Sabrina Carpenter had a mess of a show. People couldn't get there, and she had a show during the State Fair. I mean, I asked questions to NC State, well, what gives? What did you learn from that you can implement here? And they didn't respond to that. When I reached out to the Lenovo Center first for any, comment about what they're doing, I haven't gotten a single response from them, not even an acknowledgement that they got my email. And you got to remember, the Hurricanes intentionally don't schedule anything during the State Fair because of a debacle at the stadium over 20 years ago where the Wolfpack, the Hurricanes, and the State Fair all had an event on the same day, and it was just awful to the point that NC State and the Hurricanes lobbied the ACC and the NHL to not schedule home games for that 11-day period. But now, for some reason, the Lenovo Center is choosing to, book these artists during a time that they know the State Fair is here. When I was talking to the State Fair director, he told me, and I kind of joked about this, I was like, give me the schedule in 2040. He didn't joke. He said, yeah, give me 10 minutes and I can get that schedule for you. So the Lenovo Center is well aware that the State Fair is going on, yet they don't just have Billie Eilish the next 2 days, Thursday and Friday. They've got 2 concerts next week as well during the end of State Fair. I mean, at this point, it almost feels intentional that they're, saying, hey, we're going to get these artists, and whether you like it or not, we're going to put these shows on, parking be damned.
And it's so interesting, the examples that you give there, this debacle that happened 20 years ago with the teams that are out there and the solutions that came out of that. But with concerts, you brought up Sabrina Carpenter last year, but people who've been here a long time know that this has been an ongoing issue. I think U2 played during a state fair more than 15 years ago. Similar situation, not during a state fair, but still in that same area. There was a Beyonce concert that, had a lot of backups and created a lot of headaches. So this is not new to that area or to people who live here. Do we have any sense of why this keeps happening, or is that sort of what you're still working to figure out?
Yeah, I mean, I've got some ideas. I think that the infrastructure around the arenas just hasn't kept up with the tremendous amount of growth for the area. I mean, look, we've been touting for months now about how the Lenovo Center is spending all of this money to expand, to make it bigger, to make it, a better experience for fans. But part of that improvement from their perspective doesn't include any improvements to the roads, the things that people need to get into those venues. And that's a problem. They're going to get bigger. They're going to attract more people, and that's just going to mean bigger headaches for the people trying to get in and out of those concerts. But there is a little bit of help on the horizon, if you want to think of it that way. The General Assembly last month appointed like $35 million to try to help with infrastructure improvements around the arena area there. So a lot of that money will go to roads. What that looks like, we don't know yet, but at least, money is going in to try to expand or improve whatever the egress and ingress of that area is, to try to avoid what we've seen, Wednesday and Tuesday rather, and what we were expecting to see Thursday and Friday.
Right. And, I think we all hope that long term we see that area, the roads and everything, improve over time. But like you said, that doesn't do a whole lot for people who have tickets to the fair, tickets to the concert. Maybe they're going to both, over the next couple of days or the one next week. So what can people do to avoid ending up stuck over the next few weeks?
I mean, count to 10, take deep breaths. I mean, they're going to be stuck in traffic for sure. So, I mean, the only thing you can do is really, however early you thought you were going to go, I don't know, double it. I mean, there are people who, they left their place in Raleigh at 5 o'clock yesterday, and they were stuck in traffic until 10 o'clock and didn't get inside the stadium. Now, yeah, I mean, if you're going to one or the other, it's a little bit more spread out now. If you're going to State Fair, there's a number of places you can park. If you're going to Lenovo, buy your parking early if you can, and buy your State Fair tickets early if you can, just so you can try to speed up those processes. I mean, it's a cliche, but you got to control the things you can control, and traffic, unfortunately, is not one you can.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Shaun. We appreciate it. It's something that's important to all of us that live in this area.
Right. Yeah.
And thank you for listening to the WRAL Daily Download and for making us part of your morning routine. Another great way to get WRAL news is the Morning Briefing newsletter. It's a daily email with Triangle news, events, and headlines to help you get ready for the day. You can sign up at WRAL.com/newsletter.